Hello everybody. I thought I'd just cover a little video about something that's been on my mind, and that is what is and what isn't a clubman.
Ready for a walk, Johnny? Are you ready for a walk? Ready for a walk? Yes, good boy.
You gonna drive, are you? You know, so my background in the sport. Well, I started off at 17 years of age back in 1996 in a Mark 1 Fiesta, 957 cc's, and it was my grandmother's car. And I did what most people did. I lowered the suspension, put some wide wheels on it, put a noisy exhaust on it, and set about terrorising the neighbourhood with the 43 horsepower at my disposal, and crashing it about 3 times in the first 6 months. But I also got into auto testing with my local club, so that was my first real foray into motorsport. So anyway, I had Granny's car for about a year, and I bounced the valves all the way through, and I bounced off of a few hedges here and there. There's a pheasant. And anyway, I ended up, come on pups, I ended up buying a 205 GTI because my mate bought one and I was getting blown into the weeds. That was great, and I had that for a couple of years, put it on its roof. It was just a cheap old thing, banger. And I bought another banger. And anyway, when I finished messing around down at Plymouth University, whilst I was pretending to be a student, but actually really just doing a lot of DJing and raving and generally having a good time, I moved back to the Isle of Wight and got a position in my parents' company. And I started off with a salary. So I bought myself a Subaru Impreza Turbo, which I then tuned, had that 3 years. Ended up buying a Mitsubishi Evo 5, which was also tuned. And I financed all these cars basically through, bank loans. So I wasn't, given any of them or anything like that. Anyway, after a bit, it became apparent that I was probably going to kill myself on the road. So I bought a Mark 1 Escort just as a road car. And my dad was like, well, are you going to rally it? And I was like, well, it's not a rally car. So I spent the next 2 years making it a rally car. And it started off with sort of a humble 100 horsepower Pinto in it, and we just went off and started doing a few events. So that was kind of my introduction to club rallying. Anyway, bit by bit, the car got a bit quicker, and then in 2009 I was very fortunate because my parents sold a property, and Dad very kindly bought me what was supposed to be a pretty good race engine for the car. It cost about 12,000 quid, so that was my real sort of leg up to getting something that was a bit quicker. So that was the kind of major help I had, and that was pretty much the end of it at the same time. And did quite a bit of rallying in that car, and then decided that really I needed a proper gearbox in it. It was a historic car. I went off and did a historic rally in it and things like that. But I decided I needed a proper engine in it, a proper box in it. So I bought a Sadev. That kind of just transformed everything, and it became a top 10 car on club events pretty much immediately. And thereafter I did a bit of buying and selling and traded up to a 2.5 and popped that in there, and again the car was pretty good, pretty competitive. But the shell started to get rusty, so we took it to bits, and it's remained in bits ever since. And then basically I got another great big bank loan and went and bought my Mitsubishi Evo 6, which some of you will be familiar with. And I had a lot of success in that car, won a couple of events, had some really great results in it, and quite a lot of top 5 results, and certainly a lot of top 10 results. And anyway, and then this year I thought, well, I need to get an R5, so I borrowed even more money and I went out and got it. So the R5 really represents 16 years of a culmination, well, pretty much a culmination of all my motoring life, kind of like eventually kind of invested and traded up and this and the rest of it, and eventually, you know, I've managed to get myself into a position whereby I could put down a certain amount of money on the R5 and get the rest of the money basically on finance. So to cut a long story short, I'm really pushing it with this, to be honest with you, and I can't afford to lose the car. You know, if this thing gets totaled, catches fire or something like that, you know, that's going to hurt. So I'm punching above my weight, but you see, you've also got to remember that I am a funeral director, and you know, you just got to grab life by the bollocks and just go out and do it sometimes, because I'd rather do this and actually say, well, do you know what, I went and did it, I experienced it, and you know, even if it goes wrong, well, do you know what, I lived it. As opposed to thinking, you know, what would it, die wondering and think, well, you know, what would it have been like to have a car like that, and you know, what could I have potentially achieved in it? And I don't have very high expectations for what I can achieve in it, but at least I'm having a go. So getting back to the original case in point, you know, I always considered myself to be a clubman because, you know, that is where I started, in a very non-competitive Escort, seated at the back, and I just gradually kind of just have built up. I've done, I think, 54 rallies now, so that goes to show that, you know, after what, 16 years, I've still only done 54 rallies, you know, because there's been sort of highs and lows and run out of money, just the same as everybody really. So, you know, this isn't getting at anybody, but I kind of take a little bit of issue with not being regarded a clubman, because, you know, I'm still struggling to do my rallying just the same as I was when I started. I know I've got a really mega car, but I have put a lot on the line to get it. You know, this isn't sort of like, you know, the story of somebody who's like made a load of money in their business, decided to retire early, and just thought, right, do you know what, I want to have a go at rallying, so I'm just going to go out and buy an R5 because off we go. You know, this has been sort of, you know, I hate to use the word, but it's been a real journey. And, you know, I just think, you know, if you can dream it, you can do it. And it's just a question of making it happen. And, you know, that's what I've done. And at the moment, you know, I am, in inverted commas, living the dream / the nightmare when I'm having to pay all these ridiculous bills I can't really afford. But, yeah, fuck it, I'm just going to have a go. So you can imagine my horror when I went out on the first event and crashed the car. Because as soon as I hit that telegraph pole, I'm just thinking, oh my God, I've put all of this on the line, and basically in the first rally, I've just written the car off. Your heart just suddenly sinks to the pit of your stomach, thinking, what have I done? What have I done? But, you know, as it turned out, it wasn't that bad. It could have been a lot worse, but it certainly made me think. So kind of in summary, I think, you know, the whole concept of clubman, you know, I think it's as much a state of mind as anything else. Like I say, in the other example I gave of somebody that just buys their way into the sport because they just happen to have made a load of money, that's one thing. But, you know, I've trod the path. I've started at the back and I've worked my way up, and I've kind of, you know, I'm risking a lot to do this. So it's very easy, you know, you see a lot of people out there in R5s and you think, oh God, they must have loads of surplus cash and they must be loaded and, you know, all the rest of it. But the reality for me, it's just not that. It really is not that. So yeah, I'm very, very lucky to be in a position to be able to do what I'm doing. But it's I'm right at the edge of my comfort zone, and don't ever believe otherwise.